This book has reminded me so much of why I shouldn't be afraid of the things that I become afraid of when change makes its way to my life. We all know how much we love change. We do, right? I'm going to take that as a no. But for something that is the only constant in our life, we have a weird relationship with it. Change is the only constant in our life, and yet we struggle with it so much. Change is inevitable. Sometimes changes are welcome, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we seek them out, sometimes we want to hide from them. But regardless, we kind of don't have a choice about change in our life. This book, Finding Yourself in Transition, helps us remember that, like anything else in our life, change is also a spiritual practice that can help awaken us, that can help us grow spiritually, that it is not something to be resisted and avoided, but actually embraced and welcomed. One of the issues, or perhaps the main issue we have with change, is that the truth is every change is a sort of death. Every change is a sort of death. I'm going to date myself right now by quoting a line from that song Closing Time by Semisonic. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Okay? And even if it's an end that we might want in our lives, that doesn't necessarily make it any more welcome. Every change is a kind of death. And just as we struggle and may not have made peace with the process of change, even less so we do with death. Western society especially does a very poor job of talking about death, accepting death as part of the process of life, making peace with our own death. When we resist and struggle against change, we're struggling with this concept of death. And by extension, we're actually struggling with the concept of life. Robert Brummett writes this: "Indeed, every change is a type of death, a death to an old way of living or being. Yet we fear death, and this very fear of death, the fear of change, is also our fear of life itself. To live fully is to realize that death, any type of death, is but a harbinger of new life. Any type of death is but a harbinger of new life." We don't got a problem with new. We like new. We like to go shopping and get new, right? We like to sometimes try new foods. We like new. Yesterday, I was running an errand with a friend, and she said, do you mind? I actually have to go return something to TJ Maxx, and it's on the way. And I said, I'm going to wait in the car. Because there's no time I've ever walked into a TJ Maxx and or Marshall's and not walked out with something new. I like it. It's like an endorphin hit. When we go in and we find that awesome piece of clothing or thing for our house, especially if it's on the clearance rack, right? And that first number of the price tag is a single digit. Yes, we get excited. We get the hit. We like the new, okay? We like the new. But in our own lives, as much as we like the new, we want to ignore sometimes what it takes to get to the new. And what happens is when we feel we are going through change, whether it's a change we asked for, a change we put into motion, or the change was thrust upon us, what we suddenly feel is like we are in crisis. Spiritual crisis, emotional crisis, all kinds of crisis. Things come up, and we struggle. This might help a little bit. The word crisis, actually, if you look at the Chinese interpretation, is actually made up of two words, danger and opportunity. I think we tend to make up a lot of the danger part. We use our power of imagination to create all the horrible scenarios that change might bring on. And we assign meaning to them, and then we go into this downward spiral. What I'd like to invite us to do, and what this book invites us to do, is focus on the opportunity side of it. To realize that change is inviting us into not just deeper healing with ourselves and with our past, but paving the way for something new.